counting to 100 and stating the cost of clothing. So today we are using numbers with clothing items. First off, our objectives. We're going to learn numbers from, 70 to 100, but of course we have a review from 1 to 69 in French. Secondly, we'll be applying numbers to state the cost of clothing items as well as other items, but with more focus on clothing. And last but not least, going to learn to form sentences using ça coûte and or c'est to express prices. So we have an activity. All right. On page 52, page 52 in your textbook, Tricolor 1, Tricolor book 1, you'll see some, besides clothing items, as I stated a little while ago, you'd see items with price tags. So these price tags aren't blank, right? But we're going to name a few. So when you go to your textbooks now, you'll see the first activity there. It's idée cadeau, right? Gift ideas in English. And there are 5 categories. So first category, they have there's pour l'école for school, right? And we have 2 items there. And then pour les garçons for boys, and then pour les jeunes filles for young or for girls, and then pour tout le monde for everyone, and then the last one is pour vos loisirs for your leisure. All right. So these are some of the items that we'll be looking at. All right. So if you were to ask, how much does it cost? For example, the pocketbook, right? And letter M, we would say, combien ça coûte? Can you repeat? Say, combien ça coûte? How much does it cost? And of course, we have the price here. We didn't get to 99 as yet. We'll get to that. So we won't go through it as yet, right? We just need to know the question for now, right? So it's combien ça coûte? All right. So in responding now, we're using an example. The example that we see on screen right now. It's ce pull coûte 20 euros. Ce pull coûte 20 euros. All right, this sweater costs 20 euros. All right, in terms of the example that we use here, the pocketbook would be, well, 4.99. All right, so it's actually en livre de poche. That's number 12 in exercise 2. You'd see they have the list there of all the vocabulary and some extras. All right, but the French for the pocketbook is en livre de poche, a pocketbook, right? So we would say, ce livre de poche coûte, well, the price they have here is 4.99 euros, right? So it'd be 4 euros 99 centimes, right? But we will get to it. We will get to it just in a little bit. All right, but I'm sure all of us know what 4 is. Of course, it is 4, right? So if we were to round off the price to tell somebody it's 5 euros, we would say, ce livre de poche coûte 5 euros, right? This pocketbook costs 5 euros. So now we're getting into the numbers, right? Because you got to know these numbers before we can get into the prices, right? And stating all the different prices that we see on this very page in your textbook. So first and foremost, we heading over to page 53, and you'd see the notes, and I'll read along with you. Hopefully you are following in your books. Yes. All right. So as we did in class, we looked at this note. We're looking at it again. So I'll read. Numbers, right? This is in the dossier long, right? Grammaire 6.3, right? And the title is Numbers. After 69, counting in French is a bit different. Look carefully at these 4 numbers and work out the pattern. Now, we would have looked at this in class. If you weren't in class, we'll go through it again now. So to say 70 in French, we say 70. Repeat, 70. Okay, so that's literally 60 plus 10, as I would have written on the board. 60 is 60 and then 10 is 10. So you're doing a bit of maths. Not really a bit, a lot of maths when it comes to counting in French, at least from 70 onwards. Then for 71, we have 71. 71, and that's translating to 60 and 11, right? Now, usually when we have numbers that end in 1, like 21, 31, 41, etc., and we see a 71 and we go to 81, 91, you usually have the A, right, in between the numbers. So in this case, we have 60 and 11, and that's where we get 71, right? But then we go back to the normal number system. So 72, which is 60 and 12. So you just say 72, right? For 72, right? There is no A here, right? It's literally 60, 12, 72. And then for 73 now, it's 73, 60, 13. All right. So it's the only ones with the 1 is where you'll add the A or the word and in French. All right. So once again, for pronunciation's sake, 70 is pronounced 70. 71 is 71. 72 is 72. And 73 is 73. Now we had done straight up to 79 in class. So for the sake, and well, you see later down in the same note here in your books, they have where you have to they have an activity rather where you have to fill in the blanks. So I'll continue. It says following this pattern, complete these numbers, write them down and practicing them. Now, some of you would have written them down and others were trying to follow along. So I would hope that by now, as you're doing this, as you're listening to this, watching this, you will be writing it down, because writing, of course, helps you to retain what you're learning. So we're continuing with 74. Remember the pattern, it's 60 and whatever number. Now we are already in the teens, right? So it'll be 60 and 14, right? So remember the word for 14 is 14. So we have to fill in 14 there. So it would be 74, right? 60 and 14. Well, 60, 14. Yeah. If we were to like do the maths in our head, we'd put the and, but there's no and in French. Good. Just make sure you remember that part. Right. Going on to 75. Now they just have S space dash space. So getting a little tricky, I know. But we following along, still the same pattern. 75 would be 60, 15. So what's 60 again? It's 60, and then 15 would be 15, right? 76 would be 76, and then 77, 77. So we have two spaces there after 60, and one is for 10, and the last one is for set, for 17, right? Literally 60, 10, and 7. Yeah. And we go to 78, and that's 79. Sorry, 78. Sorry about that. 78. I'm skipping ahead. Way Lord. Now we go into 79, and that one is 79. All right. So once again, for pronunciation's sake, from 74 to 79, it's 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79. Continuing the note now. Now here's another surprise. What number is this? They put here 80. 80, right? Now we know 20 without the S, but when we are stating the number 80, which is what this number is, we need to add S, right? So it's literally 4 20s. So we have some multiplication going on here, right? 4 20s give us 80 in French. 80, right? So here are the next two numbers, 81, which is 81, and then 82. 82. All right. So we're seeing a little pattern again, right? That's continuing. Well, we're starting off again with 1, and then it goes on to 2, 3, and we into the 90s. As you'll see in a bit, it will continue from, well, 12, 13, etc. Right? So they say here, predict what the next numbers, which are 83 to 89, will be. Right? So we'll go through it now. And as I'm going through it, if you're not sure of the spelling, of course, you can either use your textbook right here. They have the words written out. If you remember, you just write them out as it's, right? So you put the number and the French next to it. So 83 would be 83, right? Notice there is no S in the 20, right? It's just only when you're stating 80 by itself, then it's with the S, then it's plural, right? Now 84 would be 84, right? 85, 85, because 5 is 5. 86, 86, right? 87, 87, 88, 88, and then 89, 89. So once again, for repetition's sake, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89. And that's 81 to 89. All right. And we reached 90. Finally, we nearly finished with the numbers. It's a long part, but we need to know it in order to be able to state prices and stuff. And not only prices, dates, time, well, time, a lot of things. That's like how we do it in English. Numbers are very important, as we know. So, right, 90 now is 90, literally 4 by 20 plus 10, right? When you try to work it out. And then 91 would be 91. 91, and they say here, now keep counting from 92 to 99, which is 89. Now they skipped ahead to 99, but we will go through it for the sake of well, revision and class, everything, because we need to. We want to make sure we have it, right? So you write it down again. So as I'm going through, write the number, the digits, and the French. As I said before, you can check your book and pause the video as the case may be to just make sure that you have the correct spelling, etc. So 92, using the same pattern here, is 92, right? Remember, it would be 4 by 20 plus 12, 12 being the 12. 93 would be 93, right? 4 by 20 plus 13. 94 now would be 94, 4 by 20 plus 14. See the pattern? Nearly halfway to the end of this part. 95. 95, 4, 20, 15. 96. 96, 4, 20, 16. And 97, 4, not set, 97, my apologies. 97. So that's 4, 20, and 17. And then, which part we reach? 98. Right. So that would be 98, because remember, 18 is 18. And then the last one, 99, is 99, which is what we see here in the same note. And that's it. So that's the recap. 90 to 99. We have 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 96, 97, 98, 99. And finally, well, we haven't reached there yet, but just to kind of push through, 100 is the simplest, easiest one. Cent, that's cent, C-E-N-T, as you see right there when you kind of skip ahead. But going back up to the top, right? They ask, is there, well, not to the top, but right under the note, we would have done this now. Is there an S in the French for 80? And is it still there? Any numbers from 81 to 89? So it's just like a, a reflection question, right? A question for reflection. Is there an S? Yes, in the 20 because it's for 20s, but it's basically invalid, or well, it disappears when we have to state 81 to 99. Right, so just remember, you only need it for when you're writing the word 80 in French, 80, 420s, and everything else would be 421, 422, etc. 93, whatever it is, right? So they say, after all that, look at this easy word for 100, cent, which is what I just skipped ahead to tell you. Because it's like the simplest one compared to every other thing. I think cent is one of the easiest ones, or the easier ones rather. Um, yeah, like compared to when you now start counting like from 1 to 10, and then, it gets a little trickier from there, right? So cent should be easy breezy, lemon squeezy. So that's the wrap up now. They say, and now we just start adding numbers from the beginning on to some, right? But that's for our lesson. As the title stated, we're counting up to 100. We don't need any more right now, right? But of course, you can always read this through on your own. Just know that you need to know up to 100, at least for this too, right? Well, this part of the term. So we're continuing. We looked at how to navigate these tricky structures like soixante. These right back to the slide, by the way, in case you haven't realized, we're back to the slide. So soixante-dix, of course, is when I explained it's really 60 plus 10, and that's how we get 70, right? Or 60, 10, and then 80, 80. Typo here, supposed to have an S, right? And then 90, no S, for 20 and 10. Yep. Right, we had done the listening and repeating with the numbers, basically using our textbook. And yeah, we have the prices. As we go back to page 52, you'll see the prices there. So we're going to look at a few of them. Let's check out. We had started with some before, so we won't do those. Right? We had done some in class as well. Right. So let's look at les lunettes de soleil, right? The sunglasses as letter N. Combien ça coûte? So if I ask combien ça coûte, and we see 22 with the E, right? The E, of course, representing the sign for euros. Combien ça coûte? We would reply, right? If we wanted to say the exact name of the item, of course, we'd say ces lunettes de soleil coûtent 22 euros. All right. The only difference with the coûte is the ending. It would be COU accent TENT, right? Because it's plural. Even though it's one pair of sunglasses, in French they consider it to be plural because, it's the rule. You have to make the adjectives agree with the noun. All right. Well, in this case, the possessive pronoun. Right. The verb. Oh la la. Right. So I hope you all are following. Of course, you can always practice using the other items. So we'll do one more. Let's look at the cap. All right. They have, okay, I know they have some fancy words for some of these items, like the one above cap, as you can see there, une calculatrice amusante, right? But we're just looking at the cap. That one is simple. So they actually have a range. They have from 8 euros to 15 euros. So in French, we'd say une casquette coûte entre, well, you could say entre, meaning between, entre 8 euros à 15 euros. Right? It costs between 8 euros and 15 euros, right? Right. So don't really use the de in that sentence. It sounds a bit odd. Yeah. But here they put it there, just to state, well, it's from this price to that price. But in the sentence as a proper sentence, Yeah, we will use the we more use entre. So good. Going to the vocab. Okay, going to review some of our vocab. We would have done this last week as well as the week before for the most part. Right, we have some examples here. So une robe, of course, is a dress. Un pantalon, a pair of pants. Un chapeau is a hat. Une chemise is a shirt. And des chaussures, some shoes. So once again, I'll just repeat the French for pronunciation's sake, and you guys can practice as well. Let's say une robe, un pantalon, un chapeau, une chemise, des chaussures. We have some others here on page 52, right? The word for belt, right? As of course, when we looked at the uniform being a typical example of clothing that you wear, right? A belt is of course part of the uniform, so the word for belt is une ceinture for a belt. Une ceinture, right? And you also wear socks, eh? The word for socks, if anybody remembers, I didn't mention it. Yeah, I mentioned it. Maybe not last week, but definitely the week before. Des chaussettes. Des chaussettes. They have chaussette here, right? Yeah, right on the ceinture, right? He mentioned une ceinture chic. You remember when we did the story with Lou? This on page 54. Yeah, when he was doing the interviews and so forth. So chic meaning stylish. So une ceinture chic would be a stylish belt. And then des chaussettes fantaisie, right? Well, designer socks, right? Basically. All right. We are continuing. So, right. Time to combine these with prices. So, our items with actual prices, right? So, the example here on screen is cette robe coûte 50 euros. Meaning, what's robe? We have two important words in this sentence, robe and 50. One is an item of clothing and the other one is the amount or the cost, right? So this one would be dress, robe is dress, and then 50 would equate to 50. So the whole thing now, if we have these two main words, we can state what it means, right? So I hope you got it correct. It's this dress costs 50 euros. All right. Let's see. Using page 52. God, there's so many to choose from. All right, the football. I think we had done the football in class. All right, let's try the sneakers. All right. The sneakers. All right, let me see what. Okay, they don't have anything fancy for the sneakers. All right, fine. Well, actually, it's more tennis shoes they have here. Well, to me, it looks like sneakers. I guess to each his own, but they have actually tennis shoes. Right, des tennis. So, how would we say again? Combien ça coûte for the question? Combien coûte les tennis? We would ask. If you were to ask, how much how much do the tennis shoes cost? Right? Combien coûte les tennis? How much do the tennis shoes cost? And then we'd say ces tennis, C-E-S, tennis, coûte with the E-N-T, coûte, how much? 19 euros and 45 cents. So 19 is of course 19, and then 45 is, remember, 45. 40 meaning 40 and 5 meaning 5. So 45. And put it all together for a proper sentence, we'd say 19 euros 50 et 45 centimes. Remember the word for cents from in class, right? Centimes for cents. Right. So the whole thing would be ces tennis coûte 50. Hi. Right. So ces tennis coûte. Sorry guys, I got a bit distracted. My apologies. A bit of noise. Right. So ces tennis coûte 19 € 45 centimes. All right. 19 € 45 centimes. All right. And that's how you can practice it again. I am not sure. Actually, yes. The little one above that's letter B, is like a kind of old man with some buttons on him. So I'm guessing that's the fancy calculator they're talking about, a funny calculator, whatnot. Yeah. So yeah, we're going to ask, combien coûte cette calculatrice amusante? How much does this funny calculator cost? We'd say, cette calculatrice amusante coûte, it's 5 € and 30 cents, right? So 5, of course, we know as 5, and then 30 is 30. So putting it all together, we would say, cette calculatrice amusante coûte 5 € 30 centimes. Very simple. 5 € 30 centimes. 5 € and 30 cents. All right. Last one now. Okay, well, we just did this. We just did this actually. So I can ask, what? Do they have this one way? The very first one, actually, they call it une collection papeterie. That's number 9 in the list of les cadeaux. Une collection papeterie, which is the cahier, the trousse, and the stylo, right? The workbook, or the exercise book, sorry, the pencil case, and the pen, right? That's the very first item. Well, it's a 3-in-1 item. Kind of, well, stationery collection is the actual definition or translation, right? So if we were to state the price of this, right, une collection is of course feminine singular, so we'd say cette collection papeterie coûte 610. What's 6? 6. And what's 10? 10. So 6 € 10 centimes. That's it. All right. So continuing. Right, so you can practice on this using these same items on page 52, right? Because there are many here. Alrighty. So activities now. Now in class, you're supposed to have some role play, but we try something, kind of improvise for now. Alright. So we can act as buyers and sellers. So someone can be the buyer, pretend you have like a buyer, and you are the seller, and vice versa. So using these same items here, ask the questions. Use different items, right? Because we want to practice the different numbers. So for example, let's do letter F. Letter F in the list is the right, because we want to use exactly the descriptions that they have, the exact description. So they call it des bracelets en métal argenté. So, right, metal plated, sorry, gold plated, what am I saying? Gold plated bracelets. All right. So somebody comes into your store and you say, bonjour, comment ça va? And the person is like, oui, ça va bien. And they're looking around and things. It's like, or comment pouvez-vous, I'm not Frenching right now. Comment est-ce que je peux vous aider? How can I help you? Right? And the person says, all right, d'accord. Combien coûte ces bracelets en métal argenté? Right? They're asking about the bracelets in your store. It's like a variety store, one of those thrift shops you have there, right? Now you're trying to be all rounded. So, you have to tell them the price. And as you see here, this one is a bit specific. They have 12 euros and then they have the word LES and the number 3. Now, this would translate, especially when you're looking at the image, it would translate into 12 euros 43, right? So they sell it as a set. So 12.43. That's how they write. That's how it's written in French. So you tell them that. Ces bracelets en métal argenté coûtent 12 € les 3. Alright, I'll repeat. Excusez-moi. Ces bracelets en métal argenté coûtent 12 € les 3. right? So that's you being the vendeur or the seller. Now, as the client, the customer, all right? Oh, gotta put this part here. So the customer now, you would say, je cherche un pull. Combien ça coûte? Now we don't have a pull here, but we could of course improvise. We are creative. Why not? So we'd say, combien ça coûte? The reply, as the seller, would be, ça coûte 30 euros. Or, if you want to say, ça coûte 42 euros, 42 euros. Any price, but let's practice the numbers and know that coûte has, or remember rather that the coûte, the U in coûte has that circumflex, right? And don't forget the cedilla on sa as well. That gives it this soft S sound. Many rules to remember, but many of them we already know from the years of studying French. All right. We just need to retain it and practice to keep remembering and not let it slip away. Alrighty, these last three. Price estimation. This is basically the same thing that's in a different way. So display clothing items with visible price tags, which is what we have on page 52, and we set the prices in French. Oui? D'accord. So, quick quiz. Can you answer these? We're going to translate into French. This dress costs 80 euros. Now, if you were to write this out, remember the spelling. Saying it is a bit easier once we remember to say the right thing. So let's go. Main words here. Dress and the number 80. What is the word for dress in French? Robe, right? And the word for 80? 80 with an S. So how now would we say this dress costs 80 euros? Remember, it's feminine. Robe is feminine. So we'd say, cette robe coûte 80 euros. Cette robe coûte 80 euros. If you were to say, this book costs 50 euros, how much? Or how would we say that rather? Comment ça se dit? The word for book is livre. That's masculine, singular of course. And the number 50 in French is 50. Alright, so how would we put it together and actually make a proper sentence with it? We would say, ce livre coûte 50 euros. D'accord? And that's how you practice. Look around, even now, and just name random items. Once you remember the vocab, or just go into the vocab, even at the back of the book or throughout the book, and use what you have right there. It doesn't have to be complicated. All right. So this one, write the price. All right. We have here 92. What is 92 in French? It's 92. 92. What about 65? How would we say 65 in French? Remember the word for 60? I know we started with 70, but we're going back a bit. That's okay. 65 is 60 and 5 is 5. So it'll be 65. What about 75? Yes, we're skipping ahead. 75. You remember the strategy? 75, right? It's 60 and whatever number, right? Because from 69, then we started going to the teens. Let's remember that. From, no, not 69, actually, from 70. 70, it's 60 plus 10, and then 60 plus 11, 60 and 12, etc. Until 60 and 19, which would be 79, and then we'll get the 80, 90, and 100, right? So, practice those numbers. All right. And this one is pretty much the same. So to recap, we counted to 100 in French. All right. And we looked at clothing vocabulary, which we basically reviewed the vocabulary because we had done that last week as well as the week before, and we stated the prices of items in French. And if you have a favorite outfit, you can ask yourself, quel est le prix de votre tenue préférée? Well, I'm asking you actually. Quel est le prix de votre tenue préférée? What is the price of your favorite outfit? So you can probably, reflect on it. All right. And in order to answer this, you would say, le prix de ma tenue préférée, c'est whatever, right? What mightn't be in euros per se or euro per se, but you say dollar if it's in dollars. Yeah. And for homework as practice, you write 5 sentences stating the prices of different clothing items using Sakut, right? So these items, so we didn't do, let me see which numbers we didn't do here. We didn't do the watch, the pair of jeans, right? So those are that's 1, 2. What about, the Cado gift card? That's the third one. The perfume and the cinema tickets. So those are your 5 sentences there. Yeah? And that's it. All right. So I'll see you guys in class. Au revoir.